What's good, everybody? Was good. So now that um, I finished a full season of the New York Giants schedule prediction that I had, um, they went 5-1 in the division, and um, they went 11-5, I believe, or 12-5. One of those two. Um, Now, do I think they can win 12 games? No. Um, but that's what Madden thinks. So I'm gonna have to roll with Madden because last year I did say before the season started that the New York Giants would have a not so good season, and I was right. They won 3 games in 12, or they won 3 games out of 12, which landed them the fourth pick, no, third pick, landed them the third pick in uh, this year's draft. Um, Now, the New York Giants, to me, I think they have a lot of holes to fill. Um, like everybody, if I could, it's like they're repeating themselves almost every single year. Like, didn't y'all say last year the Giants, oh, they have a great defense and this and that, and what happened? What happened? It's like y'all contradict yourselves way too many times. You know, like the Giants last year did lead the league in, I believe it was either takeaways or sacks last year. I don't think that's gonna happen this year. However, I do believe that the Giants will have a, I'm not gonna say great, but I think they're gonna have a good home record this year. That I'm sure of, because obviously last year they went 1-9 at home. That one win was against the Colts, which we should have never lost. But you know, it is what it is. We lost. Actually, we won that game, which actually hurt our draft stock. Um, but again, the Giants were thinking about wins, not really draft picks at the time. You know, had they had lost that game, the Giants would have been picking third. Redskins would have been picking fifth, or however the scenario would have went. Um, but since we won that game, um, it is what it is. So we lost a lot of players. Hold on, let me see if I can. So you can see I wrote it down. So, we signed a lot of players, starting with the wide receiver Jordan Humphrey to 1 year deal. We signed linebacker Victor to 1 year deal. We signed defensive tackle Jeremiah to 1 year deal. We signed linebacker Demetrius Flowers to a 1 year deal. We signed guard Greg Van uh, Horton to 1 year deal. We signed wide receiver Admir Smith to 1 year deal. We signed offensive tackle Stone to a 1 year deal. We signed defensive end Chauncey Colson to a 3-year deal. We signed safety Javon Holland to a 3-year deal. These are just free agencies. Um, we signed linebacker Chris Ford to a 2-year deal. We signed offensive tackle James Hudson the third to a 2-year deal. We signed wide receiver. We were signed Darius Slayton to a 3-year deal. We signed defensive tackle Roy Harris to a 2-year deal. Cornerback Paulson Debo to a 3-year deal. We signed, obviously, quarterback James Winston to a 2-year deal. Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal. And I don't know if I don't know I don't know if Tommy DeVito is under contract, so I just put 1-year deal. I'm not going to do undrafted players because most of them are probably not going to make the team. So I'm just going to strictly focus on the draft and free agency. So the 2025 draft, first round, third pick, obviously Abdul Carter. First round, 25 pick. They traded to get Dodds from Ole Miss quarterback. Abdul Carter, Penn State linebacker. Third round, they picked Darius. I forgot what college he went to. He's a defensive tackle, fifth or fourth round pick. They picked Cam Scotabo, I think that's his name, running back. Fifth round pick. They picked Corey, a cornerback from Oklahoma State. And then they had like 2 sevenths. And then they signed Thomas and Marcus, tight end from Clemson, and Marcus, a offensive guard from defensive. No, I think Marcus. I believe he was. I don't know. I forget what position he played, but he. I think it was a defensive tackle. I could be wrong, from Clemson. So the Giants had 2 first round picks, a third round pick, a fourth round pick, a fifth round pick, and 2 sevenths. They did not have a second or a sixth round pick. So, yeah. So they signed or not signed, but they drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they signed 7 players. And they, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Well, I won't count Tommy DeVito, but they signed 17 free agents and they drafted 7 players. Where I believe the Giants, did they not? They did not take a running back in outside of the draft, obviously. But yeah, free agency, they did not take a running back. Mostly was on defense. They bolstered their defense. They took 3 routes, actually 2. I'm not counting Darius Slayton. But they took 2 wide receivers, and mostly it was even on defense, even on offense, even on defense. So my concern for this Giants team is we still don't have a running game. We don't. I mean, Giants fans thought, Devin Singletary was going to be the guy to supposedly replace Saquon Barkley. But it's hard to replace a guy like that. you know, it's hard to replace a guy like that. Tracy, I mean, he has his, fumbling problems. Um, Even though Singletary's kind of durable, he didn't rush for 1,000 yards for us last year. So they went to Tracy, and then Tracy started to cough it up a lot, obviously. Um, so let's talk about the receivers. We all know Neighbors is one. There's going to be two, three, four, because obviously you can only keep 5 receivers on a depth chart. Tight ends, like, we already drafted a tight end, and we got, I forgot that dude's name. We have a lot of tight ends. And we have a lot of receivers. So, I mean, I guess this is why you have training camp and preseason for, to find out who's, your ones, your twos, your threes, your fours, what I'm saying? Quarterbacks, obviously, it's going to be a huge upgrade from last year. I think Tommy DeVito is going to be a backup emergency quarterback, so you won't get to see him at all this year unless we cut him, which I hope we do, because I don't know why we re-signed him. We're good for 3. I think 3 is decent. So, but the positives are, obviously, I'm not going to dwell on the negatives, but the negative is lack of running game, lack of receivers, lack of tight ends. Now, the positives are we're going to have our best home game in years. Now, I can't remember the last time the Giants actually were good at home. They haven't really been good at home since, the days of Eli. Even if, even Eli stunk it up at home a few times. But for us to go 1-9 last year at home, it's unacceptable. We have home games for a reason. I know y'all want to go on the road and, be the silencer and all that, but once you are home, you're home. Welcome. No pressure, no nothing. I don't know why Giants can't perform well at home. This has been an ongoing issue with them. They'd rather be good on the road versus good at home. You have to be on both ends of the fences. You can't be bad at home and do well on the road. So I believe the Giants will have their best home record since 2008, I'll probably say. Because they did have I believe they had a 9-1 or 9-2 record at home when they had, who they had at that time. They actually started out the season 8-1. Their last loss was against I forgot who they faced week 1. I think it was the Cowboys or the Redskins. One of those two they lost, and then they won like 8 straight, and then they had the best home record. So I predict the Giants are going to have the best home record in a while. Um, what else is a few positives I can take from um, trying to think. Oh, I know I wrote it down. Okay, so here it is. Um, New York Giants weakness. As you can see, I wrote it right here. New York Giants weakness, wide receiver room, lack of depth, needs a number three. Uh, Running back room, no Barkley, needs a 1-2 punch. O line room, still giving up sacks at an all-time high. Yeah, the Giants last year, their O line was. I'll go to the strengths because I already said the weakness. The strength is defense. I wrote down the defense will be the backbone of our offense because I do believe our offense is still going to struggle even with Russell Wilson. Um, Russell Wilson. Speaking of Russell Wilson, he's one of our strengths. Just because we won a Super Bowl off of a best defense, don't mean you could pull a Kurt Warner. Abdul Carter, I put a question mark there because obviously, um, how will he fare? Um, will the game speed be too much for him? Will he have a similar impact like Michael Parsons did his rookie year? Um, in darts, how long will darts start? Not this year, personally. Oh, not this year, preseason, yes. So Abdul Carter, I put a question mark. Um, Defense, again, will be the backbone of this offense. I think this this offense will continue to struggle. Um, like the offense will show some flashes here and there, but it's not going to be consistent. I believe. So let's go to the weakness. Um, the weakness is wide receiver room. Lack of depth, needs a number 3 or 4. Um, Running back room. No Barkley, needs a 1-2 punch. They need uh, 2 running backs that can carry the load, whether that's Tracy or whether that's Cam Scatterbo or whether that's Devin Singletary. We need a 1-2 punch. Just like how we had in Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw, and just like how we had Thunder and Lightning. Um, I know a lot of people are too old to remember that, but yeah, we had Thunder and Lightning. Earth, Wind, Fire, obviously Derek Ward, Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs. O-lines, they're picking up sacks at a high time rate. Yes, the Giants' offense was abysmal last year. Um, they gave up way too many sacks last year, and that probably has to come to an end. Hopefully, we drafted a few offensive linemen, so obviously just mix and match. Obviously, the backup the backups are always going to play better than the starters because the starters don't really get that much action in the preseason. So, you know, like our second, third unit can be better than our first, which is weird. but that's just, you can't really put that into consideration because most of these cats are probably going to be cut. You know, by each game they're going to be cut. So Giants fans like don't overreact if the second unit or third unit beats the first unit. You know, which it has happened before, but obviously your first unit is who we're going to go with when the regular season starts around September. And then the quarterback room, Ken Wilson, somewhat decent for all 18 weeks. Oh, Ken Wilson be decent somewhat for all 18 weeks. Yeah, so Ken Wilson just be him. I mean, he doesn't have to go out there and be Superman and you know be heroic and stuff like that. Can he just go out there and perform? You know, because he only has 1 year here. So whether he stinks or whether he digress, and then a lot of people, a lot of Giants fans are gonna say, "See, we should have picked Aaron Rodgers. We should have picked Aaron Rodgers over him. Aaron Wilson sucks. He was just only here for the money." He probably was. I mean, obviously, he wants to play. Like, who wants to play in New York to be, or New Jersey to be exact? I mean, like, I believe Sierra talked him into it. Because if it wasn't for Sierra, I think he would have probably picked somewhere else, or he would have probably just retired, call it quits. You know. Um, so the simple fact that he took the job that fast was just a little concerning to me. But obviously, he's not going to be remembered too much, but just be consistent. You know, you don't really have to, um, do it all too much. Um, and then the tight end room, same as the wide receiver, like if that needs a number 3 option. Yeah, so basically same as the wide receivers. You drafted a tight end. You didn't get one in free agency, but you did draft one. Um, so you got 3 tight ends. Um, Obviously, when we had Kevin Boss and Jeremy Shockey, we ran a two tight end set. And then obviously we had like Darcy Johnson or whatever. We had a lot of good tight ends over the years. I mean, I think that's the one position the Giants always nail. Obviously we have a tight end that comes out of nowhere like Jack Ballard, and then we had like Bear Pasco and Larry Donnell and Will Tye. So the Giants have always been consistent in that department in tight ends. I don't think the Giants never lacked that position. Um, but the Giants probably now have to um, find out who's 1 and 2. Um, so yeah, uh, so that's all I got. Hold on, let me see, 'cause I wanna backtrack. Before I go, I wanna backtrack on what. Okay, so yeah, I was right. I mean, I was right the first time. I had the Giants going 11-5. Um, I have them going 11-5, and I have them going 5-1. The only loss is obviously the Redskins. So again, for the ones because I'm just gonna repeat myself one time. You know, week one, and this is just all based off of Madden. You know, week one, Washington, we lost. I didn't really like the score because the score didn't really matter, but we lost week one. Week two, we bounced back against Dallas. Week three, we lose against the Chiefs. Week four, we beat the Chargers. Week five, we lose against the Saints. Week six, we beat the Eagles. Week seven, we beat the Denver Broncos, and we actually go on a 3-game winning streak. We actually sweep the Eagles, surprisingly. That I can believe, because of the whole Madden curse. I think it will. I think. I mean, I don't think it will. I believe it will hit them. Because the NFL hasn't had a repeat champion since the Patriots or Kansas City Chiefs. One of those two. We go on a 3-game winning streak, and then week 9, that's when we lose to the 49ers. Week 10, we beat the Bears. Week 11, we go back on a winning streak, 2-game winning streak. We beat the Bears, we beat the Packers, and then week 12, we go on a 2-game losing streak. Week 12, we lose against the Lions, and week 13, we lose against an improving Patriots team, I should say. And then we have a bye, and then week 14 through 17, we go on a tear. We beat the Redskins. I'm still calling them the Redskins. We beat the Vikings. We beat the Las Vegas Raiders, and we beat the Cowboys to go 11-5. So the 5 losses was against Washington, Kansas City, 49ers, Lions, Packers. And then the wins was from Dallas, Eagles, Denver, Eagles again, Bears, Packers, Vikings, Raiders, Cowboys, Bears, Packers. So yeah.